Picture this. You line up outside the studio on Hollywood Boulevard, ticket in hand, excited to see Jimmy Kimmel live. The security guard checks you in. The lights are on. The stage is ready. And then, boom. Suddenly you're told, sorry, the show's not happening tonight. Go home. No explanation, no warm-up act, just canceled on the spot. That's not a rumor. That's literally what fans experienced this week when ABC yanked Jimmy Kimmel off the air indefinitely. One of the biggest late-night names in America, silenced overnight. And trust me, this isn't just about one edgy joke. This is about power, politics, and whether late-night comedy even has a future in 2025. Let's break down how this exploded, who's coming after him, and what it means for every late-night host still standing. So what actually triggered this? Jimmy Kimmel was cruising into what seemed like a normal monologue, same format he's done for 2 decades. But then he made a sharp remark about the death of right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk. Kimmel basically accused the MAGA crowd of twisting the story to make political points. And in today's climate, that one line was like throwing gasoline on a bonfire. Almost instantly, clips of the segment started spreading. Right-wing commentators blasted it as disgusting. Supporters of Kimmel defended it as satire. But here's the kicker. The outrage didn't just live online. It jumped straight into boardrooms. Local affiliates started calling ABC saying they wouldn't air the show. And once affiliates refuse, the whole system cracks. This is where most people outside TV don't realize how fragile late night really is. ABC doesn't beam directly into every home. They rely on local stations, many owned by massive companies like Nexstar. And Nexstar, which runs more than 30 ABC affiliates, issued a statement. Kimmel's remarks were offensive and insensitive. Translation, we're not touching this. And that's devastating, because affiliates are the backbone of broadcast TV. If they don't carry your show, you're basically invisible in huge chunks of the country. Fans in multiple states tuned in expecting Kimmel, and instead saw reruns, movies, even the local weather. Imagine being replaced by a 7-day forecast. Brutal. Once affiliates started blocking the show, Disney, which owns ABC, had no choice. They announced Jimmy Kimmel Live was being preempted indefinitely. And that word, indefinite, is the one every host dreads. It's not a firing, it's not a vacation, it's limbo. You're basically benched with no timeline. Fans online compared it to getting a text that says, "We need space." Not a breakup, not a makeup, just endless, awkward silence. And just like that, the future of one of the longest-running late-night shows was reduced to a shrug. Then things escalated. FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr, yes, the federal regulator of broadcasters, went on a podcast and strongly hinted that networks should think twice before airing Kimmel. He talked about patterns of distortion and how stations could be at risk. That is rare. Normally, the FCC doesn't weigh in on individual monologues. Legal analysts immediately called it unusual. Free speech advocates called it chilling. Fans online, they just said, wait, are we canceling comedians because of a podcast rant now? And here's the irony. Carr was originally appointed by Trump, and Trump himself has complained about networks being 97% negative against him. So when a Trump-appointed commissioner implies networks should suspend Kimmel, the optics are, let's just say, messy. Of course, advertisers didn't wait to see how it played out. Brand managers hate controversy more than anything. Screenshots started surfacing of ad agencies emailing, "Pause spend until further notice," which is corporate speak for, we don't want our logo anywhere near this fire. One agency even shifted dollars to Shark Tank reruns. So yes, in 2025, a guy pitching dog washing machines is considered a safer bet than Jimmy Kimmel. That's not just embarrassing, that's existential. Because once ad dollars move, they rarely come back. Meanwhile, the actual taping experience turned surreal. Fans who had lined up outside the Hollywood studio posted that they were literally turned away at the door. Empty ropes, confused security guards, and stagehands posting cryptic messages like, "We wait." And Jimmy, completely silent. No cheeky tweet, no Instagram story, nothing. Which is very unlike him. Normally, he can't resist roasting politicians or trolls. But this time, radio silence, which, honestly, said more than any statement. Fans speculated he was gagged by contract or just too stunned to speak. Either way, his silence only fueled the fire. The story didn't stay in Kimmel's corner. Other late-night hosts rallied. Stephen Colbert called the suspension a blatant assault on free speech. Jon Stewart mocked the idea of administration-compliant comedy. Fallon expressed support, saying Kimmel's a decent, funny guy. Seth Meyers pointed out the irony of cracking down on free speech while claiming to defend it. Even David Letterman, who's retired, said this felt like managed media. And then Barack Obama dropped a bomb on X, warning that administrations threatening networks with license revocations is literally the kind of coercion the First Amendment exists to stop. Suddenly, this wasn't just entertainment gossip. It was a full-blown political story. Meanwhile, the internet did what the internet does best: meltdown mode. Two hashtags trended at once: cancel Kimmel and stand with Kimmel. Both sides claimed they were winning. Memes went wild. One viral TikTok edited Kimmel's face onto a falling domino with Colbert and Stewart behind him. Another showed ABC's logo fading out with the caption, starring nobody. And then came the savage memes. Kimmel's desk replaced by a folding chair with the caption, indefinite seating. A 404 error screen with Jimmy Kimmel Live not found. Even people who never watched late night had a hot take. Here's where it gets deeper. Kimmel isn't the first. Colbert's show was axed earlier this year. NPR and PBS faced cuts. Ratings for late night are sinking across the board. Advertisers are shifting money to streaming, YouTube, and TikTok. So now people are asking, is late night comedy even worth it anymore? Back in the Carson days, you could roast presidents and still dominate ratings. Now, one edgy clip goes viral, brands panic, and affiliates revolt. The genre might not be dying because of jokes, but because the business model can't survive in meme culture. And then there's Jimmy himself. His contract reportedly runs until 2026, worth millions. Disney technically still owes him money, even if the show never comes back. Do they pay him to sit at home? Do they buy him out? Do they quietly reboot with new guardrails? And here's the scariest part. If the replacement shows hold up in ratings, sitcom reruns, movies, even weather forecasts, ABC might decide they don't need Jimmy at all. If ratings tank, then pressure builds to bring him back. It's literally a ratings coin toss with his career on the line. We can't forget the crew. Behind all this corporate drama are real people: stagehands, writers, producers. Posts from backstage showed empty hallways and captions like, "We wait." Imagine dedicating years to a show only to be told indefinite. No timeline, no clarity, no paycheck certainty. That's the human side that doesn't trend on TikTok, but it's real. Culturally, this is a turning point. For decades, late-night hosts thrived on poking the bear. Kimmel branded himself as the guy who isn't afraid to roast Trump, cry about politics, or clap back at internet trolls. And now, the system itself pulled his mic. Fans are split down the middle. Some say it's accountability. Others say it's censorship. Some joke he should start a podcast called Jimmy Kimmel Indefinitely. Others beg him to jump on YouTube, where affiliates can't touch him. And honestly, that might be the move. In 2025, a single TikTok can get more reach than an entire late-night broadcast. One thing nobody's talking about enough is how this shakes up the competition. Every time one late-night show goes down, another one benefits. If you're Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, or even one of the smaller cable hosts, you're suddenly in the spotlight. Advertisers who fled Kimmel's slot still want late-night audiences, so they'll move somewhere safer. And don't forget the streaming giants: Netflix, Hulu, even Amazon. They're watching this drama play out like hawks. Because the second a host like Kimmel becomes too hot for TV, those platforms are ready to swoop in. Imagine the headlines: Jimmy Kimmel Live, reborn on Netflix. That's not just possible, that's a money play waiting to happen. So while Jimmy sits in limbo, other networks are quietly celebrating. Late night has always been competitive, but this mess just turned into an opportunity for his rivals. Here's another angle: audience trust. Late night used to be the place people went for a mix of comedy and commentary. You'd tune in because you trusted the host to be honest, even when they were joking. But this suspension shatters that illusion. Fans standing in line outside the studio said they were literally told to go home with no explanation. That kind of last-minute silence makes the audience feel like pawns in a bigger corporate game. And when you break that trust, it's really hard to get it back. Even if Kimmel comes back next month, people will always wonder, is he really speaking freely? Or is every joke now pre-approved by some nervous executive? That's the kind of thing that makes late night feel less authentic. And authenticity is what audiences crave in 2025. And this brings us to the million-dollar question. Is late night even built for TV anymore? Think about it. Everything Jimmy Kimmel says ends up clipped on TikTok, chopped into YouTube highlights, or memed on Twitter. Most people don't even watch the full broadcast. They consume the bite-sized version online. So why even bother with the baggage of affiliates, FCC rules, and advertisers breathing down your neck? If Kimmel took the exact same monologue format and launched it on YouTube tomorrow, it would still hit millions of people, probably with way more freedom. No network telling him what he can't say. No fear of being replaced by a rerun of Shark Tank. Just him, a camera, and an internet audience that's already addicted to drama. Which means this suspension might not be the end of Jimmy Kimmel. It might be the beginning of his evolution. Because in 2025, maybe late night doesn't live on TV anymore. Maybe it lives right here, on platforms like the one you're watching right now. So here's where we land. Jimmy Kimmel didn't just lose airtime. He became the test case for whether late-night comedy can survive in an era where memes trend faster than ratings, advertisers bolt at the first whiff of controversy, and politics bleeds into everything. Maybe Jimmy bounces back bigger. Maybe he fades into remember when territory. Either way, this saga turned late night into a reality show of its own. Unscripted, unpredictable, and way too meme-worthy to ignore. So what do you think? Is this the end of Jimmy Kimmel's late-night run? Or just the start of his streaming era? Drop your take in the comments. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.